Hey guys, this is Dr. Jonathan Song, your aspiring dental business management expert. Um, Here to show you the our 16th episode of our webinar series. So for this episode, I decided to do a free coaching session for the attendees. They submitted really good pre-webinar questions, so we were able to go through a lot of different concepts in different aspects of practice management. So hopefully you guys are able to learn something here and love it. If you really like this video, please like and comment and subscribe. And please share with your friends so we can spread this knowledge. All right. Hope you guys enjoy. First, I would figure out a budget, how much you need to allocate for materials. They might take a few months. Maybe you work like 3 to 6 months, like build up the office, and then you look at your revenue and like how much you're collecting per month. Like let's say you're collecting like 50,000, and I believe specialists their expenses like a lot lower because you don't have to buy so many different varieties basically. Um, so like there must be like a metric of endodontist. I don't know off the top of my head. For general, we want lab and the materials to be stay around like 13, or even better if it's 10. But lab case, there's very variability on like what kind of lab we use. So there's a little bit of variety there. So basically, like with that budget, let's say your budget is like 2,000 a month, then you're gonna tell them to, you can order. At first, you could kind of control that. You can put the stuff that you need on the cart, but don't go over 500. But then you have to order everything that we have to get this week, so that they're not going over your budgets, but you have the power to click on purchase. If you have an office manager, they can basically do that for you. And yeah, so I would probably try to order, if it's like not that much, not that many, because you might not have the volume at first, then you'll do order every 2 weeks. Then you tell them like, okay, if your budget's 2,000, then you'll be like 1,000, right? Um, and so that's how you control like how much are being ordered. And if you kind of trust them, like if they know the expectations later on, then you don't have to check it as much. But you always have to audit stuff like that. Another thing that depends on is how you organize things. So I don't for my office, a lot of like I don't know, I actually don't know if this like OSHA compliant, but a lot of the materials they're in a row. So like my PVS material, they're lined up like in one row, so that I know like if I just take a photo of my wall, like I know which one's running low, so I can order based on that. And whoever picks up like last two or last one, they need to put it on the inventory list, which has to be reviewed by you or office manager, and then they start creating like the card and then order, and then you can approve to purchase that. Like yeah, because I like to see everything, and you likely will have like three storages. One's gonna be like one at the operatory, whatever you need, like fast. Like I think endodontist, you have like a big container for like a bunch of files, all like tens and fives and tens and eights and six and whatnot that you use like a lot. Um, I know, and then you'll have the what would you call it, like more like a mediary, like a middle inventory closet where you can just go and grab stuff quick, and then you might have some extra stuff in like another storage that if you happen to order bulk, like let's say like you order like something for like 1,000 because you're gonna be using it for a long time and you got a really good deal, then I wouldn't put it all out there. I'll put out the stuff that you'll need. Like let's say for me, like PVS material, I'll put like maybe like my shelf is that could probably contain my maybe 7 to 8 PVS on the roll. Rest of them, I'm just gonna keep it on the drawer. Um, and then so if I run out here, everybody needs to come. Well, if you run out of opportunity, and even everybody needs to go and get them here. And then if they run out of this shelf here, then they need to look at our storage, like storage unit that we don't really look at. And then once we run out there, then we need to order for sure, you know. There's a lot of buying groups out there, so you can kind of do some research. Because they basically have like a lot of dentists in one network. I think there's one called the Facebook called Nifty Thrifty Dentist. As a guy
Mm.
down in Texas. He has a lot of tricks on how to save money in inventories. And I think he might have like a platform where they gather a lot of different website data to compare which one's like the cheapest. Um, or some companies or some buying groups that will just kind of negotiate a bunch of fee for their members. So you can be part of that. Like I'm part of like Koi Spire group and then that also sits network because I get a lot of Henry Schein discounts. And also what you can also do is they might also have like in your area like local, I don't know, endodontist association, something like that. You can you can negotiate as a group. Like just tell your vendor like, hey, or Patterson, Henry Schein, whoever. I think Patterson in general is a little bit cheaper. Or if you find different them, that's fine too. So talk to them like, hey, I have like 10 endodontists on my side. We all use like similar stuff. Like we're wondering how much you can give us a discount because there's a lot of rooms on dental materials.
Right.
It'll be a really good way to save some money. So people are like the hardest part of the dental dentistry. Because I wish I like working with people, but hopefully, AI can take care of a lot of stuff that we have to do like repetitively. Um, but I think it all has to do with like leadership skills. And it's something that you have to kind of build as you do more. Like you have to be out there in front of other people. You have to be out there to willing to take risks. You have to be out there to willing to be okay to be wrong. Because sometimes I say something that's totally wrong, and 2 weeks later, all my staffs are like, why'd you do that, right? But I had to make a decision and then go with it. So even if it's wrong, they need to follow you. And that has to do with like you have to set up the expectation really, really firm and well when you start. Because especially now, it's very hard to get staff members and they're getting more expensive because of all the stuff are getting more expensive. Um, so yeah, so when you get them, it's like you get like sometimes you get like a needy, like, oh, I really need somebody right now. I'm just gonna hire somebody just random. I just need a body to do it. There are some stuff that you can just hire to get that done. But a lot of stuff, you want to take time to kind of make sure you like everything that they do and they are compliant with your leadership. Because if they're not, then a lot of times it's very hard to bring everybody, steer the ship like in one direction. Because yeah, and if there's cancer spreads, right? So if there's a person that doesn't actually agree with you, but that is not really compliant. And if she starts or she or he starts behaving that way, and other people see that behavior not getting corrected, then the rest of them are gonna do the same. It's like I hate doing this, like literally hate doing this, but I have a dress code that sometimes I have to bring people because I know you can have nails, especially if you're at the front. My pet peeve is like, having like long nails and just making all that noise. But I have my policy where, you're not supposed to have those nails. My reason is like for all my staff, I want them to be cross-trained because we are all team, you need to be able to willing to help out. As simple as like turning up the room or just holding suction. Sometimes I just need one arm to just hold the suction so that I can get other stuff done when we're like short staffed. They need to be willing to do that, but they can't do it if they have long nails or basically unhygienic nails. But you set up that standard, right? So like, if they have a long hair that's just kind of dragging out, I don't want to see it because I want to make sure our image is clean at my standard. and that has to be like tied up hair, you know, my nails are all trimmed clean, and you have professional appearance. Sometimes I notice a lot of time it's common sense. Sometimes it's not common sense for certain people or certain times, you know, because people I feel like they're um whatchamacallit, their protocol and like standards, they need to be updated because their expectations or like level of the standard, they fluctuate depending on how they feel. And you know, over time, if you don't even reinforce it, they usually kind of goes down. So I have to tell them like, you know, hey, even if they're like my best employee, she is doing nothing. But I have to address it. And I'm not doing it to make them feel a certain way. I'm doing it because I set up the standard that I told them I'm going to enforce it. So I'm going to enforce it. It looks bad on me if I don't reinforce it, right? So um, yeah, I think that's very important when you're leading a team. And I wasn't always like be like what I am now. I'm not saying I'm really good at leadership now, but then I'm certainly better than when I first started 10 years ago. Because when I first started my office back in 2018, I was all about efficiency. So I didn't really want like I have everything organized, everything in the system. I get really frustrated people not following the steps because I basically design everything like a McDonald's, right? So all you have to do is like come here, do this, do that, do this day, everything's checklist. But then you only grow so much with that approach. You have to um, kind of make be able to lead a whole group so that protocol itself is, you know, always followed because you're always enforcing that high standard, and you always have that culture of, you know, doing the best job every time and being okay with um, constructive criticism. Sometimes that's a little, you know, a lot of dentists, we don't want to be the bad guy. We're generally nice people and we're not very confrontational. So we don't tend to go up there and address it. But if you don't, you turn good employee into the bad employee because you let them have that bad habits. So it's actually ultimately your fault, right? So that goes back to leadership. Um, have a good standard, you know, make sure you have set up a good culture where like feedbacks are okay. Like I used to just kind of um I guess sometimes I come out a little bit strong, maybe. So some people get like a little bit more intimidated, especially staff. Like if I'm saying something, I feel like, or they're gonna feel like 1 out of 10 of intensity here. They're gonna feel like 1,000 there. So if you say something, they take it like really strongly. So you have to be very delicate when you give them feedbacks. Uh, it might be just my problem, but then you have to kind of learn how to talk to them because a lot of time I don't know if like at least for me like I wasn't really aware of how I'm addressing things, how I'm communicating with other people. Um, so that's I guess that's another skill that we're gonna learn as we move on as like a business owner. But yeah, as far as the staff management, I think culture is like the most important thing. And a lot of times, so multiple things there, like feedback's one of them, like I said. Setting up expectation is another really big thing. A lot of time we don't really know what the success looks like. And we don't really communicate what the success looks like in my head to my team member. So for me, I'm like, why is she always not getting it done? But then for her, it's like, I'm always getting it done. I've got it done because this was my goal, right? So you have to give them directions. I do have an employee handbook, and that should kind of it should be everything legally, you should let them know. And also like those like when do they get paid and what kind of days they're to get off because there are holidays that you have to give them mandatory. There's sick days you have to give them mandatory, but you don't have to give it to them. But a lot of times, um, yeah, I guess that's the beginning of kind of like starting with the expectations. So when I hire them, I make sure I give it to them so that they can review it, so that they know what they're getting into. If they have certain questions about certain policies, then like dress code. Like they need to ask me questions. And sometimes I'm like, this is common sense, but some people it's not a common sense. So yeah, so I have to manage the expectation there. So yeah, so this is like an employee cycle. So everybody's in this cycle, basically. So you start with hiring them, recruiting side, and then onboarding. That's when you give them the offer letter. You collect all their material that you need, like certificates, driver's license, like social security numbers, and all the payments and all that related, and the stuff that you expected to have, like uh, if you're hiring RDA, you need RDA certificate. If you're allowing them to do certain work that you need a certificate for, they need to be able to provide it. And for doctors, I ask for like CPRs, malpractice insurance, and yeah. So you make sure you get all that. Give them offer letter, stating like what days are you working and how much you're gonna pay, and that's like the one set of letter that you'll provide for them. And then who are they reporting to? Like who's their manager? So for me, like if I don't have a manager, then I'll put myself. And then I'll give them like a 90-day expectation sheet. So it'll contain like let's see, I think I have a example. Oh, nice. I'll see if I can find it. But that'll just kind of tell you like what you should be doing. Like as a dental assistant, what are their like expectations, what they should know how to do, and if they don't know how to do, like they need to learn how to do it. Meaning, this 90 days when you screw up as much as you want, but don't screw up intentionally. But that's their time to try all these things and get used to it, your workflow, learn everything about your office, and then be able to get trained up to the description that you made for them for 90 days. So might be now I do like 45-day to 90-day check-ins to make sure they're kind of, being trained on those goals. But I used to do every 30 days for like 90 days. And by so I'll do like it's just like a quick check-in. So you'll tell them like, hey, we need to kind of check in for 30-day check-in. And you'll ask them, how is everything going? And is there anything I can do to kind of make you be successful in the role? And a lot of times they're like, oh no, I'm okay, or they'll tell you some problems like, oh, I'm working on this. Because if you want to be there, they're gonna be like, oh, I'm working on this. I need some help here. I haven't really been able to do this part. Then like, okay, she's working on this stuff. She needs more training on this part. Then you need to be able to provide that. Either okay, you can talk to the manager here. If you have a manager, you can talk to the manager with the manager to that person, so that um, like, you give them the plan of how to learn that thing that you expect them to learn for that 90 days. And they have to be okay with the criticism, constructive criticism. So let them know like I'm gonna give you a lot of feedback. Not that I'm not trying to call you out, but this is the time that I give you feedback so that we get you on board as quickly as possible. So you're good to go after our 90-day period, which is I also call it like a temporary period. I used to have a form. It's not really effective in Korea. I mean, not Korea, California. But I had this form where I can fire them anytime during the 90 days. Might be effective in New Jersey. So you can give them the 90 days and then, letting them know like this is a temporary position. You're not hired. And then you can give them the hire later 90 days after. so that, you know, everything's been completed, because they have to go over all these hurdles, like to prove themselves that they can do the work, right? Especially if they're asking for a lot of money, and they're asking for, if they have a lot of conditions, if they're also saying they also already have a lot of trainings, because you need to time that 90 days is going to be your time to like verify all that, right? So, and if it's not consistent, then you have to ask them like, hey, you know, I thought you know how to do this. Like, you know, is there something like I need to help you with? Then I always try to practice benefit of the doubt as max as I can. And it's so easy to jump in like, man, she doesn't know how to do this. She's a liar, right? But maximum benefit of the doubt for the first 90 days. So I'll do that. And then I think by that time, they should kind of, you kind of know if you have staff member already, they'll be like, yeah, we really like working with them. So you kind of do like a little check-in with them too during your meetings. Always have their feedback, because like I always tell the new hire, like, you don't have to be the most skilled person here, but you have to be willing to learn everything that we want you to do or we agree to do for you to do. And also you have to be a really good team player, because, you know, if you're not a team player, you know, I don't really give a, I don't really care if you're like the most skilled person on earth, because, you know, we're working as a team. An A player by himself, it doesn't work with our team. So I usually make that kind of set that up so that they understand. And you know, if the team doesn't get along, it's such a big drama, right? So like usually within that 90 days, or even like first 45, the couple months, you'll know like they're not getting along for whatever reasons. Um, and sometimes I try to solve it, because sometimes it is caused by my own staff. So I try to mitigate those, but then if that doesn't work out, then you know, then they're not gonna work out with our team. So if you have a good culture, make sure you protect it. And um, whenever the new person comes in, make sure they are on board and bought in with your culture that you already set up, which is very hard, right? Because you have to, you know, expectations, leadership, and all that stuff that I just talked about. And once they're done with that hoop, then you know they're basically hired. So around like day 45, first day 45, within that 90 days or after 90 days, I'll run a background check, make sure they don't have any history that you don't really want. They need to be honest, and they already know when they apply for the position that I'm gonna put them through the background check, because like it's not, I have to protect people that I created, the team, right? So I need to do my duties of doing the background check and make sure I know everything that truthfully about this person, right? So if they decline, then you know you don't need to hire them, basically. But you know you filter that out by, you know, when they first apply for the job. So and then after that, you know, there's a lot of background check companies out there. You just need their socials and your names and, you know, address sometimes. And then you have to pay some money, but you know, it's kind of like an insurance. You need to do those. I hired somebody before. I mean, she was great, but I didn't know until like I left that job. She just got out of jail like a couple of days before she got hired. I don't know. Like she was great. She was great. But then, you know, I felt like we shouldn't know, just in case, because we're working with them every day, right? Um, yep. And then once they go through that hoop, then everybody's on that growth and development phase. So my for my office, I always address like we're always gonna be growing, because I'm always gonna be growing. My office is gonna be growing. That means you have to be growing too. Not everybody's like that. Some people just wanna clock in, clock out, which is fine. You can find the office that's going to be very stable, like job security, great. The owner doesn't want to expand their business. They're content with what they have. And then they focus on other stuff, right? So, but if that's the office, that's not going to work with my office. So, and usually you want people who are more growth oriented, because that comes with like how fast they get trained, because they like growing, they like learning stuff. It's way easier to train them, because there's gonna be a lot of changes throughout your office, you know, throughout your career, right? So everybody's on growth and development phase. Um, so we make sure you um, enforce their job description and then everything that they agreed during the 90 days. And then, the training continues. I think you really have your own person, not when you hire, but like you really get their let's say if think of HR as like an investment, you get your money back basically with their skill with your training. Like it paid me at least like 6 to 9 months because until then they need a lot of help, especially that first 3 months is kind of like brutal because they make a lot of mistakes and they're it's normal for them to mistakes, but you have to kind of take care of that, or your staff needs to take care of that, right? So yeah, always training. And because I check in every 3 to 6 months, I'll know, like I'll ask them like how's everything going, and then I'll ask them like is there anything I can do to help you be more successful. And then there are some things that I like them to get better by next check-in, like in 90 days or 120 days. Then I'll address it then, so that next time when I see them, that's what they've been working on. They're already better. My goals for all my staff, I want to make them as a manager, all of them. They're just in the phase of wherever they're getting trained. Um, and then it's a good problem. But yeah, sometimes if you grow them too much, they leave, right? Because you can't really contain their existence anymore because they kind of grow out of you. Happens. It's nothing bad. It just means that you got the best years while they're getting trained. You know, I don't expect all my staff to stay forever. They have their own life. But while we're together, we want to make the best out of it, right? So you always do check in like 60 every quarter at least. And then you address those expectations then again, and then where you're at with the growth and everything. Performance improvement is if they do make mistakes, you have to address it, like I said. So I usually do 4 things, and by the fourth one, if they're not the good fit, they already kind of expecting either they write me a resignation letter, or once I meet up with them, they're like, okay, they already know. You do twice verbally. I do twice verbally. So let's say if like as a dental assistant, something needs to be whatever prepared, or if you keep seeing them doing something wrong and you have to address it, like, hey, so and so, this is not getting done. Can we make sure to get this done from now on? And then if they don't do it again, then you pull them aside. Don't do it like when everybody's there. Just kind of tell them like, hey, can I talk to you for a little bit? And then you tell them like, hey, I kind of saw you doing this. We don't want to do that because that's not part of our culture. Or I told you not to do that next time because of these reasons. I want to make sure that doesn't happen again. And same thing, if she does it again, then now you're gonna put them in the office. Like we need to talk. Um, and you can find it on Google Doc. I have my own. If you want, I can send it to you. It's a performance improvement sheet. So basically, it kind of shows you like their name, what they did wrong, or what you addressed a couple times already with verbally. And then if they don't follow, then you write down the consequences like termination or probation or whatever, or demotion, anything you can think of, right? And then you make sure you go over there with them, like, okay, this is our third time, and um, this does not look good on you right now. So I need you to really step up the game, fix this issue so we don't have to address this. And that do it again, now you put them at the office again, right? So now you're gonna be talking privately. And by that time, I think they usually know. Like, I don't know, I tried an office manager last year. She really couldn't fit with my team. And so I wasn't gonna talk to her that last time. I told her like, hey, we need to talk after work. Can you stay for a little bit? And then she's like, okay. And then then she left during lunchtime. She wrote me like resignation letter. You know, and yeah, so as long as you address it, By fourth time, if they can't really fix it, then it's not really the person that you really want. Like, just look at like how things are getting done. Like, check yourself. Like, you gave her enough training. If I put her through 2 or 3 rounds of DDS success, and then she's still not getting it, then this is not the job for her, right? Or him. Um, so if that's the case, they might be better off doing other work because they're always gonna have this trouble working in this industry, this job description. So I feel like it's kind of like my duty to let them go so that they can find their passion, they'd be happier because we're always gonna clash because my expectations and their performance are not meeting up together. So it's always gonna be a problem. So it's right for you to fire them if they, by the fourth time it's not working out. Employee warning, same thing. There are things that I address in the employee manual that they will be fired without warning, like embezzlement for sure. If you see them taking money for some reason, or if you can write down like you can't talk to patients a certain way, you can't swear or you can't pick a fight with patients or stuff like that, right? So that you're off the hook. California, I think we can still get sued, but you know, just like informed consent, just because you have it doesn't mean that you don't get sued. But then if you have it, it's going to help you when you go in the lawsuit. I think New Jersey too, probably like wherever there's a lot of people, California especially, it's like very employee oriented state. So yeah, and then offboarding, if they're great, then they're gonna be on the growth and development stage for a long time. They might be stable managers. Sometimes manager likes to stay at their level. Sometimes they want to be better, like a regional manager. Managers, their job is to always grow the office and reduce your stress, take a lot of stuff out of your plate. So that means that's kind of like their ongoing goal. Every month they're gonna want to collect a certain amount, want to do a certain amount of procedures, a certain amount of Google reviews. Yeah, there's always a goal. So I believe everybody who are good employees are always on that growth and development stage. And sometimes if they don't grow, people tend to lose interest in working there because it's too easy now, right? And they start getting bored and then they become bad employees too. So I think it's also part of our job to give them like career goals or, be interested in what they really want to do their life. Because I don't know, some people want to be dental assistant forever. Some people, maybe it's like a stepping stone for something else. And I want to give them the right motivation to do certain things. I don't want to be the leader where um, I want to trap them. Because a lot of DSOs, if you see their contracts, associate contracts, sometimes it's there. Their bonus, they trap them with the bonus or like a written notice of quitting for 6 months. I don't think that's um, very nice in general. So yeah, most people are gonna be in the growth and development, and then you know, it's just like any relationship, it'll end some point, right? Voluntary termination, involuntary termination, or maybe you sell the office, then the relationship's over. So once that happens, you go back to this recruiting cycle where you let's say if you're a startup, you haven't gone through a lot of employees before, you're gonna go through multiple of these until you find somebody really good. It's not that, um, there are a lot of bad employees out there. It's more like sometimes you don't have a good selection process for your own office. So you have to, make certain mistakes managing people. And once you've gone through enough people, then that basically you have an idea. Okay, this person really clicks with me. I feel like they're kind of similar to my previous employee, so and so, and she was a really good employee. I think this is gonna work out really well. So that happens, and for sure, like, okay, I don't really know this person, but the way she speaks, everything on her resume checks out. She's gonna be a great employee. Let's try it out. Then, because I actually saw a YouTube short, Elon was saying like the only question he asked for an interview is like, tell me about yourself. Like you use yourself, not for the Tesla, right? And then a lot of time he trusts his gut feeling. But I think it kind of happens that way. If that manager that quit, she was nice, but I was kind of like everything that I was looking for, but then I wasn't sure. Like, um, I didn't like jump in 100% in, but I wanted to kind of see, even if I had some, uneasy feeling in my gut. And of course it turned out not that great, right? So I'm sure you'll develop that. Then you'll have better structure on how to train people, what are their exact expectation is, because your job description, all these processes, they're only gonna get better the more you do it. So yeah, the ads, you can have better ads because sometimes you put an ad, nobody responds. Okay, maybe I need to word it differently. Maybe there are certain things that candidates are looking for. But if you already have an ad that's working, just keep using that. There are people that find people for you, those services. You can use that. And you want to kind of incorporate, once you find that person, all these onboarding process, growth and development, all these things into your interview questions, where you're asking the kind of like probing questions like, okay, I want to make sure all my checkboxes are done in the beginning, right? And then you let them know about the background check, make sure they're aware they're going to do that in 3 months at least. So they're okay with it. So everybody in this cycle, hopefully you get to you make the employees on the blue area, as soon as you can, so that things are more stable. But there's a lot of trials and errors, and it's something that you just have to kind of go through and learn, and which is kind of like about practice ownership. I don't know, I don't think I was that good at it. I studied a lot about management and systemization because I didn't know, and not knowing makes me anxious. I wanted to feel like, okay, I think I can do this. But thinking back, even if I learned a lot of things, you learn so much when you start and actually working with people that are very different from you and your background. So yeah, a lot of trial and errors and human resources, which not a lot of people like about this part. And I'm not a super fan of it either, but you need those people to make your life successful. So we just have to go through it. This could be pretty useful on people management. So they need to know who are they reporting to. Like I already talk about defined roles and expectations, and the communicating cadence. Like you don't want, like if you have a manager, you don't want everybody to talk to you because they're stepping over their boundaries, right? You have to keep their boundaries like straight. So you talk to the manager first. If for some reason it's not working out, then this comes to me. Otherwise, there's no reason for me to have a manager, right? But you have to make that cadence clear so that people talk to you first. I mean, talk to them first. Let's say if they have multiple hygienists or dental assistants, then they need to talk to their department head first for the bigger office, and then the department head, they use their leadership to kind of control the situation. If it doesn't work, they have to escalate it to the manager. Doesn't work out, then it escalated to owner, right? Um, so the organization chart, this really helps. Also, what really helps is to define the roles and their duties in those organization chart, for the roles like treatment coordinator, what they're supposed to do, like dental assistant, what are their real roles. Yeah, the more you define it, better, because people hate uncertainties, and it makes them anxious. The more brain power you require them to work, there are people who are not going to be able to handle it. So make sure everything's straightforward. And I think the organization chart helps really well. Motivation, I would say, I don't know. Like I've been trying. I give because I have 3 offices. Well, not that's not the reason, but I generally come up with a quote every week because every day I have a meeting with staff, a morning meeting because I want to start off right. Sometimes I'm late. When I'm late, I usually call them so that I can be on the phone when we do the meeting. So we go over the quote for the week. I decide what it is. Usually related with like leadership or sometimes some human resources like growth and development. Or sometimes, if it's like Thanksgiving, I talk about gratitude and something that everybody can kind of be beneficial, benefit from, so that we're all kind of working with the same mindset. So I do that, and then I have a staff member who will go over the schedule. And if I have a manager or who have a person who can keep track of the money and collections, that person will go over our production, collections, and new patients. And then they'll also go over like some goals for this week or this month. A lot of people needs to be reminded multiple times. So like right now, I have review goals going on for everybody. So I need them to kind of like remind everybody. It's like, hey, like our reviews, like how many reviews right now? Our goal is like how many reviews by this date. Try to like get them all excited. So that we're all kind of working toward the same goal on top of all the other stuff going. Because the regular workflow is like what you're supposed to do, but that's what you're hired for. But then the alpha factor comes in when you can generate even more stuff on top of that because people are more excited to do it, right? So I think it's important to focus on how to aligning people. If you align people in the right ways, you know, that itself is a motivation. And if you give them a good cause to work towards, that's and if there are people who needs to be like motivated, it's very tiring to work with them. So I think they ended up not working out with me because I always have to stress about motivating them, right? But as long as you have good energy, good alignment with your staff, I think generally people are pretty motivated to do like, your goal. Um, I just kind of usually announce like my goals, like for this year or next year or this month, whatever, so that it doesn't matter if it's like outrageous, but we're all gonna work towards it. And if you make it, great, then we'll structure a bonus or we'll go out, we'll kind of celebrate. If not, that's okay. We'll try it again next month. And that should be like normal. Um, so I do team meetings every so like morning meetings I have to do every day, and then I'll try to do at least every week or bi-weekly meeting. You can structure however you want. I used to do like 30-minute training and 30 minutes just kind of going over everything that's been going on at the office. Um, Sometimes it gets kind of repetitive because you're checking on the same thing. Um, but yeah, you need time for them to either vent and then like address to you about the problem that's going on in the office, and also have them um remind you like what they've been working on and what they need help with. Otherwise, a lot of times they don't know where to tell. Like if they can come to you privately, like asking you like, "Hey, doctor, can I have a couple minutes after work?" But then that's a lot for them to go through, because it's uncomfortable to talk to boss, right? So you make time for them to, you know, um, get together so we can talk everything together, going back as a team. There's certain thing that's not been working out. We can definitely group text works better if you're all on the same page, I mean, same room, talking about the same thing, and then try to work towards it. Um, there are ways to run meetings more effectively. I generally do 1 hour, but then now I'm doing more like a 30-minute meeting. I don't think you need the whole hours to do a lot of stuff. Because it ended up being kind of like your meeting gets dragged down and it's not as exciting. So if you can make it short and sweet. Make sure everybody comes together at one point, talk about the same thing, and then we all work towards that same problems. And if I do have some time left, I generally use that time to train because I'm always kind of like trying something new or trying to make these processes better at the office. So if there's a YouTube video, I'll play it and then we'll kind of watch it. I've already watched it usually because I want to make sure like I show them the right stuff. And if there's any like product demo, then I'll schedule it then so that everybody has like a learning opportunity to grow something. Um, yeah, that's what I would utilize team meetings for. Oh, and then also another thing is if there's something not going well then that would be a good time to address it too. Or we had like an incident, like this patient got really mad because of certain things, then we need to talk about it. Because I'm not blaming, I'm not trying to figure out who did what wrong. I'm always gonna blame it on my processes. Like, okay, if A said this and then patient got pissed, like what else happened before then? And because usually it's not one thing, it's multiple things, right? And if those issues are keep happening, then we need to make sure we address it because every time that happens, we lose patient. It's not good for the team, not good for the office. We don't want to make same mistakes again. So that would be a good time to do it. And then I'll probably try to do like this year, I'm gonna try to do maybe like book a whole day to just go over all our systems, like all the protocols, how to answer calls, how to whatnot. Like how we do at our office. Like my Samurai office, I'll talk about like how do we answer calls. Even if they know, then we're just gonna review everything, make sure everybody's doing the same thing, make sure everybody's saying the same thing, make sure everybody knows the flow, what we're supposed to, or certain procedures, or certain processes like new patient processes. Let's say we're gonna give them a tour of the office. My office is pretty small. I don't really do a lot of tours, but sometimes my staff will kind of point out like our technologies in the office, and then just give them a little thing, and that kind of like helps patients to kind of trust you a little bit more because they feel like they know a little bit more, right? So yeah, so we'll I think I'm probably gonna do that to just make sure everybody gets aligned the whole year, like front and back, because I want to make sure they all answer the call the same way, um, with the same energy, and usually I have scripts that they have to say because um, yeah, it all start with like everything counts. All the little things count towards like case acceptance and treatment planning, and then how what kind of barrier they have, against getting the treatment done. So I think that's very important. So yeah, meetings, that's kind of like my cadence. Daily, weekly, and quarterly, I might go out to eat with them. We'll just kind of do a office hangout for dinner. And then yearly, like usually have like some sort of annual meeting where we talk about our goals and then like, going over the processes. Um, so yeah, that's kind of like my meeting cadence. And I think that also helped with like, making everybody align and, being as a team. Because that's kind of what, teams are for, right? And in the meetings, I usually go over, everybody goes over like our mission, vision, core values. It's something I kind of made. And well, I think the best way is to make it with the team. Sometimes it's not very practical. So I just made one for myself. What I want my office to kind of look like, or how I want my staff to, um, what the attitude that I want them to have. So and then as we review it every team meeting, so we kind of go through all the values and missions, and if it doesn't sit right with me, then I'll fix it. And I'll ask the staff too if there's something that we should add on here or something that you don't understand, because this is how we operate. This is our kind of like this is our culture written. So that also helps, especially with and also with like onboarding. Usually, there's no right or wrong way, you know. Let's see. Price wise, is if you want to see if you're priced right, a lot of time the equipment or dental material vendors, they keep track of, because they know basically like where everybody's located. Sometimes they conduct like a fee schedule like analysis, so you can ask them for that. Or you'll know when insurance companies, they basically know all the fee schedule around the area because they do the analysis, make sure they don't pay you like too much, right? So you can get the data from there too. If you're taking insurance, it doesn't really matter how much your fee is, because you're gonna have to, if you're contracted, then that's how much you're gonna have to receive from the patient. You have the contract, right? If you're out of network, I usually have like certain fee schedule. You want to be like on the 80 to 90 percentile of your region. You don't want to be the worst place to be is like the middle where you're not too expensive, too cheap. If you're not too cheap, like there's usually people want like really good service or fast or more availability for other stuff for a cheaper price, right? So I guess that's a good way to position it. I usually like to be in like 80, 90 percentile. But if I do lower fees, then means I have to do more volume. That means like I'm learning a lot of that right now because I have one of my offices lower pricing, Medicaid. It needs to be high volume office. So that also requires more new patients. Even if you have a lot of recalls, you still need to feed the office a lot more than fee for service. So that means a lot more marketing costs because more dialed in marketing strategies. Because you need more new patients, meaning you need to spend more money in marketing as well. So yeah, that's there. And so and you'll know, like I used to charge my crown like 850. Now I charge them like I feel like 1500 seems too cheap with what I can do because I think you learn more, you've seen more other crowns, they're not getting done well. You know your result really good. Once you kind of be really content with your skill, then you don't have problem charging that much. Like I know like some celebrity doctor, they charge like 6,000 veneers, but people line up, there's waiting list they're getting done because they know what they're getting into, right? So that pricing also has to do with like what you're comfortable with, like because when they pay, they trust you with that money, they're gonna get the outcome that they want. If you can't deliver, then then that becomes conflict and problems, right? So if they're paying cheap, they might be okay with like, okay, because I didn't really pay that much. But then if you're paying a lot more, they're gonna be like, oh, this better be good. I'm paying this much, right? Um, so yeah. And you have to audit your office every now and then, at least every month is good. I will look at every almost every week, but how your production is like going, how your collection's going, like how many new patients you're getting, and then time to time, for me as a GP, my hygiene is very important. So I'll look at how many hygiene appointments I've been having so that because I want to have more hygiene days, then I have to hit certain metrics. So usually like one hygienist will be like 200 patients a year. So let's say if you want to have 5 days for one hygienist, then you need at least 1,000 patients to run of 5 hygiene days, right? So um, you have to keep track of the numbers because you don't know if you feel like you need more hygienists, but then actually it's not really hygienists. It's just like your scheduling is like all over the place. That's why you feel so busy. Yeah, some people don't want to do hygiene, they just hire hygienists. But for hygiene for me is a lot quicker than hygienist, right? So I really think like you don't really make too much money from hygienists having a hygienist, but then it's a really good service for patients to have. That's why we have them. Because my cleaning will be like probably like 20 minutes. Because I leverage like dental assistant doing polishing, educations and photos, x-rays, and all these other stuff versus hygienist too has to do all these stuff in 1 hour, right? So going back to the metrics, so I would probably look at like my hygiene count if I'm ready to bring another hygienist or not. And then you have to keep track of those numbers to see. Not a lot of CPAs do this because it requires more bookkeeping on time, but you can ask for monthly profit and loss statement, which will state like how much you like deposit in the bank, how much you spent, where your expenses are, and how much you spent on marketing, how much you spent on whatever, like equipment. There are industry standards that you want to hit per expenses. Um, Actually, I might have it here. General metrics. So I have collection up here, production up here. Most probably you know production is what you do in the back, like procedures that you do, how much you're produced. versus collecting is how much you actually have collected money-wise, actual cash, right? Because some people like crown, sometimes they'll pay half and then they'll pay the other half when they see the crown. But then when you bill it out to insurance, production itself is a whole thing versus collection comes in a little bit later. So there's like a little bit discrepancy. If you're more closer to the fee for service, you'll have a less discrepancy of collection versus production. Because they, let's say true fee for service, you pay everything up front for the service that's being rendered. So there shouldn't be any much like collection production difference. If there is, somebody's stealing money, right? So yeah, with that, I will track new patient. The total overhead includes like facility, like how much you pay for like facility costs, rent, utilities, and the maintenance, how much you spend on furniture, equipment, professional services, like it'd be like accountant, or like if you have a consultant, you can put them in here. Dental supply, office supply, payroll. Uh, this is a lot. You usually want to stay around like 25 to 30%. Utility, marketing. Marketing kind of depends. If you want to grow, you want to be overspending, but a lot of stable office for GP, they stay around like 1 to 2%. 2% usually, like for $1 million office. Because they for startups, they marketing costs a lot because you don't have any base to go off of. So you have to spend a lot of money, put a lot of ads, external marketing to create your pool of patient to market to. But once you become more like a mature practice where you already have good patient base to generate word of mouth referrals, but that's basically free, right? So that's gonna help you bring the cost down per patient. So a startup, you know, if you want to put a lot of budget on marketing, um, you may have to do like more, yeah, like I don't know, I guess specialists they usually come, I guess like eating with the GP could be marketing cost because you're basically getting to know them, or study club could be marketing cost if you don't want to separate the books, you know, because all the people that comes to study club, you're just basically marketing yourself, right? And I think you could even do like online one, but I think there's more people are more cohesive if you do it offline. So yeah, there's a marketing cost, and then lab, you want to stay around like I have a range here. Um, I kind of figured this out based on a few books I read and you know based on my experience. This is kind of like my metric. Some people might have different metrics, but it shouldn't be too much different. So lab fee uniform is like if you have some people have washer dryer in the office, or they have to wash clean towels or gowns and you know stuff like that that you can put it here. Admin cost, any administrative cost. IT is getting pretty more. It used to be like I think 1% is good, but now they do so much stuff on their computer now. Like there's a lot of softwares, there's a lot of like patient communication softwares and platforms. Internet should be on point, right? You don't want like because everything is run by computer now. If you don't have a good internet or infrastructure for IT, like your office doesn't really flow, right? So that means your computer needs to be backed up, good cybersecurity, and then good support on staff, like not on staff, but then good company that can do the IT work. Usually they do like monthly backups so that all your data, even if somebody hostage your data, because a lot of hackers out there try to expose people or hack into your account because you have a lot of personal information there to steal their identities and whatnot. So they you need to have good antivirus, firewall. Firewall is like a device that can kind of push up the hackers so that you don't get hacked. And if you do have problems, you need to have some sort of support. And you don't want to find some IT company when you have problems like server went out or something's not working. That's gonna cost you a lot of money because um, that's how a lot of IT companies make money. And you know, everything a lot of time when they come and fix it, usually your setup is not really IT like cybersecurity compatible. So a lot of time they have to fix a lot of different things too. So since you're doing startup, I would just, do it the right way the first time. Make sure you get a lot of references. I don't really know the New Jersey. Here, I actually have a IT company that I work with my partner. So I know a lot of IT stuff here, but make sure you work with the right IT person, and then you'll probably pay like monthly fee, and that basically includes like antivirus for each workstation. Because if um if one of the computer got hacked, they can hack the whole server, because that's like a internal network of the computers. You have a bunch of desktops, and then you have server. They communicate together. They are protected by like firewall or other softwares from other hackers. But when people kind of, in the movies, they stick like USB on the certain people's computer and then they hack it. That's that's a real thing. So, if they have bad intention, they could do that easily on your computer. So, anyways, that's why you have to like lock up the servers and protect the patient data, because there's a lot of lawsuit with that too. But anyways, IT, you want to have ongoing support where they back up everything, antivirus, and then if you have any problems, they can remote in, because they already have these little software that can just kind of log into your computer anytime. They sometimes they might even work overnight, right? So because they'll run some program to fix computers, and then they'll kind of work it. So, but if you have that, you just call their hotline and get that fixed, office up and running again. Because like let's say like endo, you have 8 patients scheduled full. Each root canal is like $2,500. Um, you're gonna lose $20,000 in one day. So make sure you invest in the right kind of IT companies, so that you protect their production. And even if the things go down, they usually prioritize the emergency like clients, so that they can come and fix it right away. Sometimes they have like a extra server they can work with, because they already have your data. So you can go up and running the next day. So very important. Anyway, so IT costs going up. So I think like in general now it's like between 1.5 to 2%, I would say, if you do it the right way. And then bank charges, you can get rid of this. It's basically the charges that you get for your bank account if your balance is low, or if for some reason that bank has some sort of maintenance fee. You can usually negotiate this. Tell them like, hey, I'm bringing like how much money in this account. Like, can you waive it? And then they can usually do it, but then you need to have some money sitting in that account, right? And another thing is credit card fees. So let's say patients are paying with credit card, then the credit card terminal charges some points. The credit card points that you get, they're basically charging the seller, right? So if patients are using their credit card to get their points, then we're giving that card company 3%, like between 2 to 4.5%. Amex a lot more. There's certain, cards a lot. Like sometimes it's like as low as like 1.5%. So um the bank charges are over there. Like these days they have some terminal that can charge patient the card fee, which actually I'm trying. So I signed up with them, and actually Scott Luna, when I went to his course, he talked about like there's a lot of fees popping up, and I think people are more used to it paying the service charges for buying certain products. So, and if you can cut that, usually 3%, 3% of $10,000 may not seem that much, but then if it's like a million, that's a lot, right? So, anyways, that's what the bank charges are. Insurance, you need a few insurances. You need like life insurance, malpractice insurance. And actually those will be like, doctor fee. So that this insurance we'll be talking about the facility insurance, like because the landlord is gonna require to have some sort of insurance, and some state you're gonna I know we have to get like workers' comp, that's gonna be on there. And if you have like cybersecurity insurance, that's also on there. Um, and then licenses, like city license, business licenses, and then meals and entertainment, that's kind of like based on your discretion, basically. You don't overspend it. I usually put my team dinners and stuff like that over here, or partner dinners or lunches or something. If I bought for them, then I'll put it over here. And then if we have any C for the team, that's gonna go on here, miscellaneous. So I have percentages here that I know, like this is red, then I need to look at it. Like facilities is red, but facility cost doesn't really change, right? So I know I'm like underproducing because percentage wise it should be over here, but then I'm only producing like this much. And based on that, I need more revenue. So I have collection problems, right? And professional services, sometimes you sign up for consulting companies to expedite things. Like I'm getting coaching so that I know I can do a lot of things, but then once you pay, you definitely get it done a lot faster. So if that's your case, then categorize those fees over here. And like I said about the inventory, dental supplies, and for us, I always try to get down to like 5%. Whatever it takes, right? So because otherwise it's so easy to order too much, order too expensive. So I generally recommend watching this number every month. Investment ones happens a lot. I mean, I just have heard of this one medical clinic getting a lot of cash has not been given to the owner for like over a span of a couple months that equal to like Tesla car payment. So you always have to keep an eye on the ball. Okay. Like money, if staff think that you're not checking, then they start having the idea, okay, like how is he gonna know if I take this money, right? It only takes like one bad thought and then they're gonna, some bad person's gonna do it, right? So always keep track. I always check the collections and productions, and then needs to match with my receipts every day, and then checks that I get every day. And that needs to match with my practice management software. And if you have separate cash ledger, that needs to be in there as well. So if you're getting in the habit of doing this, if your staff see you doing it, they know for sure like there's not a lot of ways for them to fool you, even if they have bad intention. Or they'll kind of trust you like, oh, it's gonna count all this money. So usually they don't really think about that. But um, once you kind of like um, once you lose the sight, not eyeing the ball, that's when people start having this different ideas. And I heard you can definitely go to police. A lot of times you can't really get the money back. So you kind of lose their money and somebody's in jail, but it's not like life or death for them. So they can in the end they'll take that money, right? So it's much better, having some structure, checks and balances for everything, to make sure nobody's doing any funny business. Marketing, there are two types of marketing. One is an external, like I said, and then the other one is internal. A lot of time is word of mouth. Internal is way more effective. External, if you run a lot of ads, you definitely get a lot of weird people. Weird meaning like not a weird person, but then weird that you can't really get along with. Um, like not your target patient. So best way to do is I'm still kind of making this. There's something called patient avatar. So you want to define who you want to get as patients. Like I know some people as detailed as like a moms who has kids in uh this school, and they're making certain amount of money, working like living and working certain lifestyle, and they like to shop somewhere. Like that's very specific avatar, right? So, but you need that specific avatar to make the marketing plan, design the flyer, and yeah, so you need a target so that you can kind of strategize the whole marketing, because it start with like first exposure could be flyer. It could be flyer, and then second, that needs to be also correlate with your website. Which a lot of times now I put like QR code on my brochures because I can go from analog to digital pretty easy that way. They need to be able to go on the website very easy. And then once we get on the website, they need to be able to schedule easy. And this is all kind of part of marketing. Like it's talking about patient experience. And I guess for specialists, it'd be more like a general dentist. Like how are GPs gonna be able to refer us? What is like the easiest way? I know we do referrals. Um, yeah, I don't know the best way. A lot of my specialist friends, they have referral cards. We give it to the patient. I feel like there might be better ways than just giving the paper. Um, and then you want to like shorten the process of exposure to the scheduling as short as possible, right? So you don't want them to go through too many hurdles. Make sure it's like easy for them to schedule. So you have to think a lot of those, and a lot of them kind of depends on the avatar, your target, like actual target patient. And once I figure out, marketing has to follow up with the analytics, because usually every little neighborhood zip codes are different. Even if this worked in a certain area, if you didn't identify that area as the same as the other area, or even if they're same, the strategy might be different. Some area might respond more to Google ads or Yelp. Some area respond more to like Instagram or like more social groups, maybe because it's like a small town. You maybe have to be part of uh like a town hall meeting. I don't know, like the something that people do as a city. Because you have to know people. They usually go to their friends to get their stuff done. They don't like to go to the strangers. They actually, when they do that, they have a lot of distrust. There's a lot more hurdle for you to go through to make sure they do this treatment. So yeah, every area is kind of different. So when you first start, a lot of time, you have to set up a avatar and market towards that group, and then you have to track it. So if you're spending a certain amount of money, and if they're not calling, then there's a problem. Your ad's not working. And another thing is like you spend the money, they call, but they're not making an appointment, then you need to look into, okay, what's happening after the call? Like, are they answering the right way? Or if the call going through, sometimes, now they have VoIP phones, sometimes the setups are a little different. So you gotta figure out those processes. And, like, I think a lot of times startups, you just kind of like spray and pray and see which one works. But you have to track it so that you kind of double down on stuff that's actually working. Like, but you won't know. So my office, I was focusing on Google and Facebook. And then Google, I was like, okay, I think I don't know if it's actually Google ads bringing it or because I have a lot of Google reviews. So we stopped it. Then we put everything on Facebook. And a lot of time, I'm not sure if they're actually coming from Facebook. But another thing I realized from my metrics was that I have a lot of people saying Yelp, but I'm not marketing in Yelp, right? So my plan for next month is to spend more money on Yelp and see if anything kind of like make any difference. So yeah, lots of tracking, and then hopefully at some point you dial into that few marketing strategies, maybe two or three that's been working, so that you're not spending money without a return. You want to get it down like as cheap as possible. And one way to do it is doubling down on marketing that works. And another way is to generate a lot of referrals. Um, Making referrals also another thing that I'm always been kind of working on. I always think like you need a lot of reviews because I think everybody looks at their reviews. I don't think I ever really checked specialist reviews, but I think patients will check. If I give them like three different referral cards, they'll check their reviews and then what they look like in online website, right? So you want to make sure that your website's pretty clean and nice and then very welcoming so that when they look at you for the first time, that first impression is like really good. And then when people answer calls, they do really well. So anyways, I think all that counts. And yeah, anyway, going back to intro referrals. So I focus a lot about our reviews. And then once I got that, a lot of my other marketing strategies were working a lot better. So I was getting more bucks out of the same stuff that I was doing. That kind of tells you how much people care about the reviews. They just don't want to get something, somebody else had a bad experience. So definitely get a lot of reviews. And for GP, we run a lot of campaigns. Like every quarter, we'll just do like a raffle, like TV giveaway or something. But they need to give us a review, or they can have a couple more raffle tickets if they are bringing new patients. We do like thank you cards to patients who refer us any patients, so that make sure if they, I think it's kind of like I don't want to pay for the patients, but then I want to make sure they are being appreciated when they do something good for us, so that they're more likely to do that for us again, right? Um, yeah, because if you get the whole family, the whole town, you don't need a lot of marketing at that point, right? People are always going to be talking about you, and you're always present in their head. Like if something happened, they're just going to call you. So thank you guys for coming today. Um, I think I'll probably do this again. You know, Rachel, good luck on your journey. If you have any questions, shoot me an email. I can try to connect you with people that I know if you need help. If not, good luck. It's going to be a great journey. And Audrey, same thing to you too. So I'll see you guys around. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.